proudly warn you, I'll be just fine.
We went public, and I decided to go public so families didn't have to go through what we went through.
Yeah, what did prompt you to share your story with others?
Two things. I've wanted on a personal level, so we don't have to go to the black market to source it for Deisha in the long term. But more importantly as well is, the torture, and it doesn't just affect your child, it affects your siblings, it affects the whole family. And no family should go through that. They don't need to. When there's an answer out there, that no family should have to go through that. So we decided to go public. We ended up on the front page of the local paper and Channel 7 and ABC Radio and things like that. 99.9% was supportive through the public and community. I had strangers knocking on my door, phone calls. It was absolutely just phenomenal, except for that 0.1% where somebody phoned community services and reported us that Deisha was having cannabis oil. Which it was disappointing as a parent, because people who know me, and I've fought everything for Deisha and for other people and other families in our community. So for that to happen was more of an insult than anything else. But me being me, I made an appointment for her to come out and visit us. I made sure that my local member, Andrew Fraser, was sitting on my land room chair when she walked in, and her expression, her face, I will never forget. She goes, "Oh, I didn't think we'd have anybody here with us." And I said, "Well, I didn't think you'd bring anybody with you either." So once we got past that, and luckily she was an ex-nurse. So she understood, like Deisha was, at that particular time when we decided to go down this path, Deisha was on 7 anticonvulsants as well as prednisone, which is a very nasty steroid. And she was having those dosages 4 times a day, which equated to 30 doses of anticonvulsants every single day. So...
and David, you've got some audio here as well that we'll probably give you some context into exactly what you're... So
I'll just finish off on the case manager from Community Services. Being an ex-nurse was probably the best thing ever that could have happened to us. She watched that video that you saw, and she also heard the audio will play shortly. And she said, "David, I've been against recreational drug use my whole life." She said, "But what I see you're doing with your daughter is I fully support, and you've got my support 100%. So it's still an open case with Docs, because Docs New South Wales have never had a case like this before. But saying that, I'm fully confident, and it's not going to stop being, because report me to Docs if I stop giving my child cannabis oil.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's right.
All right, so do you want to talk us through this audio?
Yeah, look, the audio is, it's a huge sales pitch, and you'll see it in a minute, or hear it in a minute, but we've been open with everything, and I have gone to the end of this world to do everything for my child, to find a cure for her epilepsy. We ended up going to Melbourne to a lady called Ingrid Sheffer. She's an ophthalmologist, which is above a neurologist. She's a world leader in her field for research into these sort of things. So we spent 6 days down there with Ingrid, and they did an EEG, which is for 24/7, 6 days. So we're in this room, Deisha's wired up. We weren't allowed to leave that room for 6 days straight. She was monitored the whole time. Okay. At the end of those 6 days, they're unhooked. Ingrid and a team of about 50 doctors then spend the day discussing Deisha and all the data. They come down and then give you the outcome that they've got, or the answers they've got. That audio goes for about an hour. This is a 5-minute part of that audio, but I think it all sums up in that 5 minutes of what the medical world expects us to do and not what we need to do. So did you want to play that now?
Sure.
The news is I do have a suggestion.
Okay, excellent.
The bad news is it comes with lots of baggage. So I would, if you were here and you were my patient, you are my patient, but I would be putting on high dose steroids for 3 months minimum.
Yeah.
Now this is always fraught. Always, not sometimes. So, when we tell you about drugs, we tell you about side effects in some cases. This is in all cases.
Yeah.
And, when we talk about drugs, side effects are 10%, this is 100%. So they all put on weight.
Yeah.
And the little pumpkins, like she is, tend to blow up more than the little skinny ones. The skinny ones, their faces might plump up, but the pumpkins, the solid ones, tend to get more plump. So she would put on weight. It does have loads of side effects. So the side effects are always really scary, and you might want to run away and not think about it. If it was my child, I would do it.
Yeah.
But I always say when I do this, it's a contract between you and your doctors, and in this case it's me as well, but I'm conscious that I'm a long way away. And if something goes wrong, we need to take that responsibility together. I don't think that, I don't want you to go in there blind. I want you to go in there very open up. Now, why would I do it? I would do it because you might improve a long-term outcome. She's never going to be normal intellectually, you know that.
We know that, yeah.
But what you want is to reverse this regression and try and get her back to where she was.
Yeah.
Now, is that worth the side effects? Yes, but the side effects have a mortality risk with them, so it's not nothing. And so I make it scary because I think it is a bit scary. But I have got, my guess is I've probably had between 10 and 20 patients, because I'm getting a bit old now, so many patients are under the water. But I think that basically I've had long-term steroids on, and they have, I think none of their parents are sorry they did it, but they have not generally been able to get off the drugs at 3 months.
Yeah.
So while I'm selling it to you that it's a 3-month trial, I have got one little girl who's was on it for 8 years. You could talk to her mum if you wanted.
Yeah.
She's actually probably the most similar.
Okay.
She hasn't got dysmorphology and she hasn't got Rubinstein-Tabby, but she's maybe a bit worse actually. She's a very good mum, and I'm sure she'd be happy to talk to you. So we got her off it after 8 years, and then it was really interesting. I saw her this week actually, and she's 14 now. So is it 8 years? It probably might be 6, 7 years. I might be over calling it a tiny bit. And she came out with another immune condition with red lumps earlier this year, a few months ago. And the treatment for that is steroids, and the rheumatologist put her onto steroids for a week or two, for a month or 2 months for this thing.
Yeah.
And her cognition improved. So I finally got her off the steroids after 6 to 8 years, I can't remember. She came off them for a year or something. She went on steroids for something else and she improved again.
Yeah.
So it just shows you, and in fact we've now left her on it, which is why I've seen it, but on a very low dose. So let me tell you about the side effects. The side effects, the one they all get is weight gain.
Yep.
The rest they don't all get. So you have a risk of hypertension. Now, of all my patients, this little girl is the only one that's ever had hypertension, but she's needed treatment for it and she's back on it now.
Yeah.
You can have cataracts. The only one that I've ever had with cataracts is this same little girl, and she has had to have cataracts removed, so that's not small fry.
Yep.
You can have change in mood, so you can have depression, or you can have euphoria, which is the opposite, where you get as high as a kite. I haven't really seen that with my kids. You can have bone health changes, and that's an issue.
Yeah.
That you get thinning of the bones, which long term can be a problem. So I would want Dr. Naidu to do bone mineral density studies and to monitor that.
Yeah.
And you do that 6 monthly to 12 monthly. Now, it may well be that her bone health isn't normal to start with. Have you ever done bone mineral density?
No.
Okay, well, at least you have more sun up there than we do.
Yeah.
But so the bone health is something. Diabetes can happen. Never really had it. I'm just trying to think of this little girl, the most severe one that ever got diabetes. I don't think she did. She didn't, but that's a theoretical one.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm going to ask Lauren, what else? What other steroids? You can get muscle weakness. Never had that. And one of the interesting things about I'm going to call this thing ECSWS now because it's easier. But one of them is that sometimes you lose motor function. And this little girl that's so severe that I was just telling you about, she's my most severe. She's actually lost her one side function at times and got better with the steroids.
Yeah.
So how have I rationalised the steroids? In my head, I've rationalised that it's a life-threatening disorder, and therefore you're improving long-term outcome. But the risk is that, I know what I haven't told you about, infection and stroke. They're both side effects of steroids, and they can both kill you. Now, thankfully, I've never had that with any of my kids, but I'd hate you to go into that not knowing it, because if it happens, you have to be able to sleep with whatever happens, and I have to as well, and we have to know that it's the right thing.
Well, very revealing.
And that's a legal drug that you're allowed to give your children.
Yep.
Yeah.
How did you feel during that conversation?
You're stuck behind it. I mean, at that particular time, Ingrid was our answer because, I mean, here we are, we're relying on a world expert in child epilepsy, pediatric epilepsy, and to hear that, well, you're damned if you and you're damned if you don't. Your child's either going to pass away or regress from the seizures, or she could possibly die from the prednisone or a stroke or, you know, whatever else. So you're damned if you do and you're damned if you weren't.
David, can I just ask, do you live in fear of being arrested by authorities, and more serious than that, the threat of having your child removed from you? And if so, what's it like to live like that? Particularly, you feel that after the doc's visit, things are pretty safe.
I feel pretty comfortable. To me, they wouldn't dare. Yeah. We're a lot further down the track. Deisha's been on it for nearly 8 months now, and I can say she's been seizure-free.
Not a single seizure?
Not a single seizure. And you know, as a family unit, we're now able to do things we weren't able to do before because, I mean, Helen, you've been to our house and we've got monitors, TV monitors in every room that we can watch Deisha when she's in bed. There's a sensor mat under her mattress. So you were living in fear the whole time of her having a seizure and stopping breathing and dying. We've gone from that now. Just recently, this is trivial, but our kids got to see fireworks because beforehand we weren't able to go out after 7 o'clock at night, or if you did happen to go away, you had to be close to a hospital. All these different things. So it's a benefit to not only just the child, you know, intellectually and to help no more seizures, but to the whole family unit. It gives life back to everybody in that family. It has given us relief, so I can focus on what I need to focus on. Some of you know what that is, and some of you don't. But we'll just leave it at that at this stage. But I'm hoping that medicinal cannabis can help me as well. The most important thing of all is children need to be included. Okay, that's very important. And up till now, I think they've been overlooked because it's one set sort of mind. So whatever way we go forward, children need to be included. That's the most important thing. And if they do trials, I'm not interested. Come and study Deisha. By all means, come and study Deisha. And that's one of the probably the most frustrating things I find at the moment is Ingrid, and I shouldn't point fingers just at Ingrid, but Ingrid Sheffer is well aware of the change in Deisha. She won't answer my emails or phone calls. We've now eventually got an appointment with her, but she will see Deisha in September 2015. I mean, you know,
here we have. When were you told that? A few weeks ago.
I got an email from her PA last week. Now, we've got a child here that she knew how, and from that audio you saw how bad that, and she knew how bad Deisha was. Then all of a sudden, there's this miraculous change. As an ethical person, as a doctor, wouldn't you want to know why? You know, and that's where that education for medical fraternity needs to be brought forward. And her bosses at the Austin Hospital or wherever they may be, come and see our kids.